Hi, my name is Matt Desmarais. This is my final project for CSCI E90. I chose to focus on business intelligence and business analytics for this project. That's what I work with a lot for my job. So I wanted to kind of see what AWS could do in that space and see if I could possibly use some of that in the future. So this is my final project proposal. I wanted to focus initially on this diagram as it's a high level of what I did. And to the left here is my data. I started off with just some sales data, a million rows or so of sales data with product and customer information, quantities, amounts, things like that. Put that in a CSV file, loaded that up to Amazon S3 bucket to store my data. Then I brought the data into Amazon Redshift, which is Amazon's data warehousing solution. And I chose to do that because in the future, I'd like to bring more data sources into this data warehouse and join them and combine them so I can do some more robust reporting. And it seemed like a pretty good tool for that. And finally, I sourced Amazon's QuickSight, which is their data visualization tool, from Redshift to create some end user reports, dashboards, and some graphs and charts to visualize the data. Quickly, this is what my test data looked like. Like I said, just a flat file, CSV. I ended up putting that into a text file. I found it a little easier to work with when loading to Redshift. So, like I said, created a new S3 bucket, uploaded into my sales data folder my project data, a couple test files in here too, just for initial proof of concept. So once I had the data loaded there, I brought it into Redshift, which took a little while to set up the new cluster. Kind of like any other AWS tool, there's some initial setup and configuration that's needed. The way I got the data into Redshift from S3 was using their query editor tool. So the first step was to, let's see, I had to create the table that would house the data. So this was, it's a basic, pretty much basic SQL, creating the table, naming the fields, field types, lengths, establishing the table. Once that's created, I used another query, which is another simple SQL command of just a copy. So you can copy right from the S3 bucket into the newly created data. You just put your AWS credentials in here, identify the delimiter, tell it it's a CSV, and when you run that query, it brings the data over. I did run into a few issues with data quality that gave me errors. So I had another query in here called errors that would go out to the error table and just kind of return my most recent error so I could look at my data. Mostly it was just bad characters, and initially my lengths were off on some fields. So a little trial and error, but I was able to resolve that pretty well. So once the data was in Redshift and I was happy with it, I brought it into QuickSight, which, like I said, is the data visualization tool, and pretty simple to use. Basic drag and drop here, and you can configure these different data visualization boxes. So I just did basic customer sales activity over the course of a fiscal year, and basic material count, total sales, sales by customer, top 2,500 here, count of records by plant, just some basic stuff so I could prove that it was working. But a lot of nice possibilities in here, and I look forward to working with this a little more in the future. And I will go into more detail in my 10-minute video. Thanks for listening.